not know where friction fire is? He's no idea.
I have no idea.
Does anyone? Come on, squeeze in. Have chairs. Come over, say hi.
Check.
Okay, you need to back up a little bit.
Sorry.
Friction fire is just literally rubbing two sticks together until it makes punk that comes off of it, or char, and then eventually that compresses and a spark happens on the inside of that. And after you get that spark, you've got a coal, and then you roll that coal into something flammable. And I just grabbed this grass from the side of the hill, and that's how you make fire. Okay, so essentially our eventual objective is something like this. This is a piece of willow, and this is a big chunk of sagebrush on sagebrush. I got another spindle in here somewhere. And once you seat the spindle, you kind of want to use the same spindle in the same spot, because there's kind of a burn-in process. And if it doesn't match up, it'll blow out, it'll bust wings. Like, you have failures that just make it harder. So it's better to spend a little more time making it properly and cut it right, and then get a good solid burn-in, and then you can get 2 or 3, especially with sagebrush, you can get multiple coals per hole before you have to burn in and go along. And you'll, special. So you will get, usually you'll run out of spindle before hearthboard, not always. So I'm gonna bust out a little hearthboard. This is just a chunk of sagebrush. Sagebrush is cool because it's the only plant I know of you can actually cut it green and still bust a coal successfully, because the inside's almost always bone dry. And then if you do get it dry enough, you want to pull this bark off the outside, because there is your tinder. Now you've got your hearthboard, your coal creation, your tinder from the same plant. And I like sagebrush because it's everywhere. Like Utah, it's hard to not find sagebrush. If you do get an altitude that's too tall for sagebrush, you want to go to quake and aspen. The quakies will make this super smoky, large chunks, and it'll pretend like it's busted a coal when it hasn't actually. So, process this little guy. So what you want to do with this is you want to cut your banana straight, right? So a banana, if you can think about it, has that shape to it, right? They're straight in the banana. You got to take the top off, take the bottom off, and take the straight out of it, right? The hearthboard doesn't matter as much, especially if you're doing a hearthboard on grass. If you're doing it on cement, you got to have a flat edge on the top and the bottom, kind of like that. If you're busting it on a coal, you only really need that one flat edge.
All right, over here on the side, under the green canopy, we have Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, and they'll tell us a little bit about their booth.
Hi everyone, I hope you're having a great time. My name is Katie Stewart, and I'm here with another board member, Hunter. We're with Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. We're a non-profit. We focus on wildlife, water, and land conservation.
I'm cutting up, and then I'm just sliding down.
Hunting and angling.
It takes all those pieces out, right?
You don't chop it in half, you just shave it.
Yeah, I'm just making a flat spot, right? I'm pulling two before I have it, right? Now I can bust a coal here, I can bust a coal here, doesn't really matter. Again, I want to keep this stuff,
donations
so
win a
kind of decide where I want.
Cauldron. So
I'm going to take,
thank you.
I'm going to take a little bit of this lump out right here, right? Because that's just going to make it sit a little more flat. Right? And you'll get this twisting motion with the hatchet if you're not paying attention. So you kind of have to dig into that to preemptively stop it, if that makes sense, right? So now I've got something flattish that'll sit on the ground, right? And it's flat enough that I can find a place to bust a coal on it. I want to make this a little deeper. I'll show you why in just a second here. It's gonna give me more surface. When you start drilling in this stuff, there's a heartwood, and your spindle will go on and kind of walk around that heartwood, and that'll blow it out. So if you're gonna find that heartwood, when you start to feel it, you turn and push into that heartwood, and it will keep your spindle from walking off the edge of the heartboard. So this is pretty much done. I can just basically make a curve mark right there, and that's all you need to do to start the spindle. But now I gotta make a spindle. So I can do this again with a hatchet, or I can just bust my knife out. Okay, let's talk technique for a second. Put the blade towards you, face it down, and you've got a lot more pulling leverage. You can take big chunks off fast. And what I'm doing is, you guys see the straight part inside the banana? So I'm gonna cut that off right there, and I'm gonna cut this off right here, because this eventually needs to look like this. The straighter this is, the easier your coal is gonna bust, because the more smooth it's gonna roll. When people start doing this, their spindle goes, it's because it's misshapen, right? It's like a crooked piston. You shave it till it's straight and pass that around. And it's smooth, you'll actually feel it go, and it will be like a marble rolling on a clean floor. That's what you want. Your bust coals really fast if you just make it right to begin with. So I took a big chunk out there. And if you want to take the bark off, bark is a fire deterrent for most plants, and that's kind of not what we're looking for.
Almost heaven, West Virginia, the Ridge Mountains, Shenandoah River. Life is older than the
You guys got questions, let me know.
younger than the mountains, growing like a green country road. Take me home.
See how it's kind of straight? That stuff right there. And then what I'll do is I'll put it on my chin like this and I'll spin it. See how it's got some wobble to it? So I can take it out of here, or I can take it out of here. It's going to be easier to cut it that way. This is the art part. Just making sure that I'm cutting this thing straight. Got a little wobble to it. What's up? Yeah. This is kind of straight. It's not amazing yet, but I'm gonna roll with it. Okay, kind of have what I'm looking for, right? I can see there's going to be a little wobble in right here. Okay, you're inevitably going to have a fat side and a skinny side, right? Skinny side should be the top, the fat side should be the bottom. This is not perfect because I can feel it's fatter on this side. I don't necessarily want to shave that out. See how that kind of straightened the stick out a little bit? So that's the goal, nice and perfectly straight. Now, if this was a wet or a green one, This right here would be the cameo layer. That's the sticky part. You gotta get rid of it. This is a dry one, and I can tell because I can put it on my cheek and I don't feel it. So I'm not so much worried about removing that. But if this was a green sagebrush, I would scrape this all the way down to that cambium layer until I removed it. At least around with a friction scrape. Because if that part gets into the hurtboard, it's gonna lubricate it. And then you better be stronger than a chainsaw, right? You can catch asbestos brakes on fire if they're attached to a semi go downhill. The problem is, can you create the same amount of force as a semi going downhill? What I mean by that is, like, any two things rub together hard and fast enough are gonna start a fire. But why not make it easier by making it drier and less lubricated so that you can bust the coal faster, right? Okay, so now I've made hurtboard and spindle. This is a random green tree that I cut on the way up here. And I can go make it pretty and all that stuff. You kind of want it to be about that length, which is good because it's already kind of cut up. This is all jacked up here, so I'm going to do what's called a rose cut. I'm going to break that off. And that gives me, that's why we call it a rose cut. Okay, pass that around. And basically I'm just making a bow that's not going to snag either with a string or any other way on my final product here. Okay. There's 1,000 different ways to do this, right? I just make a tip that a loop can go on, and then I tie a knot in the bottom. This one was already kind of set up to be rung like a bow, so that's why I like to have my last one. With that same thing in mind, I don't want my spindle running on this part of it, right? Because it sticks in. So what I'll do is I'll find the center of the bow.
Over here on the side, we have hideout knives.
That's the side you want your
got a beautiful
spindle to
selection
roll
here.
on, right?
They are
so with that in mind,
and they have been making knives for
I want to
about
make it
20 years. So come and
like
check
this.
out Hideout Knives and give them some support.
What we're doing here. All I'm really doing is just making a little shelf for some 550 cord to sit on. What not to do. It's kind of ugly, but you get my point right there, right? So I can slip a loop on it and just tie some wraps on the base back down. Okay. Now you can use whatever cordage you want to use. This is a hank. A hank is basically a thing that is tied up so that you can pull your stuff off and cut it, and then yank that and it stays tight. Do you guys want to see how to make one of these? So I make one? I'll show you how to make this real quick. It's basically a continuing slip knot. So hold it like this.
Right over on the far side, we have
You gotta back up.
three
Get
booths
too close.
under one booth. We have Heber Valley Self-Reliance, and Russ will talk
Pull it
about
off.
his booth.
Give yourself a little length.
If you
All you're gonna do is spin this 3 times, put it over the top,
we
pull it tight, and
are
that's a button.
the
Do 2 of those.
organization we're trying in this area to create
And
a
then when you need some string, you pull it from the other
self-reliant
side, cut what you need,
So if you're interested
pull that button
in
tight, and there's your hank
becoming
again.
self-reliant,
It's a way to manage cordage
we
without
would love to
pulling
have
too much of it
you
off.
you can come over and take a picture of our self-reliant and sign up as becoming a member of our self-reliant group. So that's what it's all about.
Now, normally you would make a fire and then close this off, but I'm here,
And
right?
we also have flick a seed and
The way to do this without burning yourself
here's the guy to talk to.
is
Guys,
lick your fingers so they're wet and tap it.
Lick a seed
It
soil.
won't burn you, which is nice.
Ryan, it's known for to triple crop. This soil is organic, and all you have to do is flick a seed, and it's ready for you to grow. So, come see us.
Great, thank you so much, Doug.
Okay.
And we also have Kathleen here with
So,
Contact Organic.
I don't care what loop you tie, as long as it doesn't.
Hey, this is Robert Scott Bell from the Robert
So a
Scott
lot
Bell
of
Show.
times
Glad
I
to
will
be
just
here with
tie
everybody.
a
Kathleen.
and then chase it. You can tie a
Amazing
bowline, tie
option.
whatever you
How
want,
many of
right?
you know about how dangerous Roundup is? And glyphosate, the active ingredient in Roundup. You don't want to use that. Causes cancer, kills everything. Well, there's a technological breakthrough out of Australia that's now available here. Contact Organics. Get rid of all of your weeds that you don't want without poisoning your environment, your soil, your pets, and your kids. You guys got to check this out. I just tested it at my home over across the valley. Better than the toxic without toxic poison.
So what I'll do
all this
here
clean organics,
is I want to
Contact
tighten up the
Organics. Come on.
line that has this onto it. So kind of experiment with one. What I don't want is a little tail hanging off this, okay? And the reason you don't want that little tail hanging off of it is because it'll bind up in your bow drill when you actually start running it. So essentially just get it snug enough like that I can now attach like that. Did what I say just make sense? Okay, sometimes I just go through stuff and people are like, see, talking about. Okay, so now I've got to measure it. And different spindles have different diameters. I'm gonna use this one because it looks like the fattest part, and this will be my top. So what I'll do is I'll hold with my right hand and I'll stab my belly with my left hand. So I'll go 1. And this is the traditional spindle. 550 cord has a tendency to stretch, so it's dynamic rope. So I do an Egyptian bow drill, so I'll do it 3 times. And then because I want to deal with that stretch, I'll put it at about a 45-degree angle like this and mark my spot. Now I know how much stuff I need. I'll tighten it up just a little bit and then wrap it around itself.
Perfect, nice job.
And I'm just gonna wrap and tuck this. Wrap and tuck is what you want to do if you have primitive cordage. You don't want knots, but it also happens to work for 550 cords. And a wrap and tuck is just basically a clove hitch if you do 2 of them. Okay. So now I've pretty much made my bow, my contaminating stuff here, spindle, and my hurt cord, right? So now I can bust a cold. Now, if you want to continue and make a socket for the top that's primitive, all you got to do is just cut something in half and use the top of that board, right? So this is an example of that. This is just a chunk of bark off of a cottonwood tree, and cottonwood bark tends to be fire resistant, so it makes a really good spindle, okay? But you kind of want to load something up there like grass or whatever, because it'll tear your bark up, and you can only get a coal or 2 out of it. So if you guys want to check that out. Okay, yeah, buddy. So I'm just going to use the socket in the side of my knife because it's faster than making one of those. But we can make one if you guys want to see how it works. Okay, so you always start to sweat when you need this. So I take stuff off knowing that I'm gonna get hot. The other thing too, in your path, like you got to move stuff before you stab it, right? So now would be the time that I lay out my fire lay. If I lay out my fire lay, I don't have to bust a coal and be like, oh no, what am I gonna burn? So I make a TP or whatever of the kindling that I want to catch on fire. Because it's gonna go spark, tinder, kindling, fuel, and it's not here, right? So with that in mind, you gotta prep it before you just start busting it. So, I'm gonna stick my coal here, inside of this guy right here. And I want this to be ultra fine. The more broken up and busted and destroyed it is, the better it's gonna take that spark. Okay?
Good luck with the wind.
I'm sorry. Some question? Looks right, buddy. And then you want it like, yeah, you had it right. Okay. So first I'm gonna do a burn in, then I'm gonna cut a notch, then I'll bust my coal. It's hard to talk while I'm doing it, so I'll explain before I do. Okay, go over there real quick. You're doing good, but you're just too close. Go sit back, way back here. There you go. What's up, buddy? Okay, chill for a second. I'll get some food when we're done. You want to sit in my chair? Just sit. There you go. Okay. So the burn-in is gonna seat and burn the spindle to the hearthboard so that it won't blow out after I cut my notch. So if I do the burn-in first before cutting a notch, never cut a notch first. That's just the path that it's gonna travel to break out. Okay, so we'll start out with this burn-in first. We already talked about slip it on. 1, 2. And this third one should be snug tight. I'll hold up my armpit and roll it. And I want it to be maybe even tighter than this. And the place I want it to ride is in the lower third. Because where's the lateral pressure coming from the lower third, right? If it walks up to the top, it's gonna bust out of my socket. So I want to keep it right there. And it's gonna go up and down a little bit, but I don't care if it comes down here and up to halfway mark. That's where I want it to travel, right? And I'm bracing this against my leg to make it easy. And all I'm doing is changing my angle until I get it where I want. See how smooth it is? My spindle or my bow is a little bit short. You want to use the full length of your bow.
There it is. Pressure are you putting on it right now?
I'll take a sec. Just enough to hold it there.
Okay.
I mean, I can put pressure on it, but watch what happens. It's a little bit hard to hold on top now. It's burnt in, but I want it to be a little deeper. Okay, so sometimes you can bust a coal right there, and that's what I wanted, was that thing. That's the true center of the stick, because it balanced itself there, right? This guy was not a lot of pressure, which is perfect. And one technique you can do, smash your bug on there, get something green and bust it, wipe on the center, on the sides of your nose, but lubricate it somehow so that it will roll on that. And you can see how the center is not exactly where I cut it, right? It balanced itself. So with that in mind, I'm going to make it center. That's kind of nitpicky, but 5% extra effort will give you 110% extra performance, right? So let's roll with it. Okay. One rule you have is keep that sucker out of the dirt and the water. It's dry enough here, I'm not super concerned about it. So normally I'd put it over here, right? I just want to like emphasize 0% humidity, 10% humidity, 25% humidity. That's all effort you got to do, because a majority of that smoke in the beginning, it's just steam. If you haven't burnt the steam out of it yet, you're spending all this extra time burning water out of a kit that you shouldn't have gotten wet to begin with. Now you can put these in the water and pull them out, shake them off, and run them, because the centripetal force will pull the water out of them, right? But you got to be chill and not too fast, because you're going to be there for 20 minutes. Or you can bust the coal in 30 seconds with a dry kit because you didn't put it in the water. The end result's the same. Okay, so I need a chip or something to put my eventual coal on. It will be that one. I could probably stick it on my knife as well. A lot of people will put it down like that. Doesn't matter how you want to do it. It's the best chip for this. So if we use this chip, I already got all this punk built up, right? So why waste it? Now the carving of this is gonna look like that. Okay, that's my best measurement tool. It's 1/8 of a pie, just short of the center. And I'm gonna use my thumbnail as my guide to kind of mark where I wanna cut before I actually cut. Now I could have carved this straight, and I think I will really quick. Okay, and I basically did that to make my cutting a little easier. And I'm not doing a straight line, I'm doing a slightly angled line because I want to introduce oxygen into the bottom of there. Now a lot of people will try to cut across all of these like laminate layers, but if you push here and then you rock here, it'll just pop out. It's kind of like cutting a big tree down, right? Kind of chip by chip. Just pops right out. Don't get too close, Blue, then that way they can still see. You don't need 47 knives, but each one of them have different attributes, so here we are, right? If you got a saw, you can make quick work of this. And you'll find yourself kind of sliding down the ramp to the center. The key with this is keep it about blade shape like that. It's kind of your measurement device. So it lets you know I need to take that piece out of it, if that makes sense. Because this will build up on the outside. So I've got to go a little deeper so that it actually drops down the center, right? Now you can see I'm almost there, but I got to cut some out of that left side. Okay, see how we're getting closer, right? So that's kind of the eventual goal, is whatever the tip of your blade is, and both of the blades are similar to the shape, right? Almost any blade is gonna work. You don't have to have one like perfect, but it just gives you a guideline so you know what you're looking for. If it's too big, it'll put pressure on these wings and it'll break out. If it's too small, it'll build up on the top and it won't dump down your hole, and that's wasted effort. So if you see that happening, stop and reset and redo it, right? Part of it is recognizing this is failing, stopping, resetting it, and then doing it right. Okay, does anyone have questions on this part? All right, so now we'll bust the coal. Okay. Okay, Back up a little bit, Lou.
All right, so we have a couple things real quick. So barbecue competition competitors, we are doing the barbecue sauce collecting here in 30 minutes. And Rachel will come around and get that sauce for you. Everyone make sure that you're going around and taste testing everybody's food, because that's important. Next thing we're going to be doing is a raffle, one of the raffles, and the first one we're going to do for is
I'm going to go
Joe's
until there's
Creations.
smoke coming from the bottom.
They are
If you guys want to squeeze in and look, you're welcome to move wherever you want.
With the antler keychain.
Once the coal is busted, I'll just sit back and wait for it to grow for a second. You don't get in a hurry. Everybody's like, I broke a coal,
We
I
have
broke a coal.
Athena here.
And then they kill
She's
it.
going to
Don't do
draw
that.
the first ticket.
Allergies suck. So we'll get that busted and go from there. It's like no hole for my knee.
Okay, we have
Watch out, buddy. Back up a little bit.
James walk up.
Hey, James, you
James
won.
walk up.
Woo!
You won.
Come on up here, James.
I'm staying here.
All right, the next raffle
Okay, do you
is
see that it
for
started already?
Truly Yours
Yeah.
custom
Okay.
design for a hat. And we have Darlene Wing.
And you know it started because the heat started coming off the bottom, right?
Darlene Wing. Oh, all right, cool. Here we go.
And I'm tapping it so that it will all fall. Because one flick of a piece of grass will ruin my day. Destroy that. And one wet drip from your head will also kill your coal. Okay, don't ever blow on this. This is just a pile of dust. If you need air, this is all you need to give to it. You can't see because it's dark, but there's a glowing red coal crawling right up that. So now, split this in half. I don't need this much. I'll basically push my nest piece here and go like that. And this is where I'm gonna stuff it, right down in that little hole. Okay? And I'll bring my nest to my coal, and then my coal that I'm losing to my nest. Take everything you can get. I think I killed all that. Now, normally I would blow on it, but I think the wind's just gonna do it for me. If you don't have a breeze going there, when you were little, you flew airplanes, right? You just went, whoa, my airplane! So fly your airplane. Watch out, Jack, you can get fire on you. Oh. And just a little bit of a breeze will bust that out, right? Gotta find a spot to put this, it's already dead. And then if you start getting it to burn and you want it to burn better, turn it up, right? That was easy.
Yeah.
You guys want to see it?